Hey guys, first regardsman here, and I'll be talking about Weekly Hard Stratagem number 42 in Space Marine 2 patch 13. Now, this one is a bit difficult for a lot of players, even though the mission here is actually pretty easy because we are on decapitation. The battlefield conditions are tsunami, all enemy waves are massive waves, but waves are less frequent. Extreme challenge, the number of extremist enemies spawn is increased and they are encountered more frequently, and the Emperor protects. One player gains a buff that restores 75% HP to all team members and knocks back enemies in the area of effect every 90 seconds. If the player dies, another player gains a buff. So the extreme challenge in Tsunami here, obviously pretty difficult. Extremists are some of the hardest spawns in the game, and a lot of players will struggle with stuff like quadruple biovores or like triple zoanthropes, and for that reason, we'll be building around that today. And the build I used for this was a Pyre Blaster tactical build, because right now, the burn damage on the Pyre Blaster is absolutely nuts against Tyranids and especially bosses, so really powerful for this condition. We also have some other strong options like Execution or Vanguard with Extremis healing, and of course the Bulwark with stuff like the Power Axe or the Block Power Fist, which we'll be going into now. Now for the tactical setup here, I do take the Pyre Blaster Venting Speed variant, mainly because the Venting Speed version here really is just the best option if you take the perk Emperor's Vengeance, because Emperor's Vengeance will solve your ammo economy all on its own on like pretty much every single tactical build, and the Pyre Blaster is no different. Now for the secondary, I do take the Heroic Heavy Bolt Pistol just because the reinforcement stopping is pretty nice, on top of the fact that this will have amazing synergy with the bugged perk effect, which is of course crack and penetrator rounds. Now this is the crux of this build, kind of like an unethical setup, because currently this perk is bugged to actually function on your burn, but with like one caveat. So the thing here is the 50% body shot damage bonus will apply to your burn as long as you have the heavy bolt pistol equipped. So what you have to do in game is apply the burn from your Pyre Blaster and just swap to your secondary, and as long as your secondary is currently equipped, you will apply the 50% body shot damage bonus here to your burn. If you feel like that's a little cheesy, you could take like a plasma pistol or balance distribution instead. That is up to you, and stuff like plasma boost, but I'm taking this one today because we just want to get the weekly done. Now as far as the perk tree setup goes for the Pyre Blaster here, we just go for like all burn down the top tree. Stuff like Resilient Flame and a Pure Flame are very strong here for more burning damage, and if you really want to, you could skip over these two perks here and go down for increased capacity and the perk Flame Purification. These are still pretty strong, but like overall, I think just going for pure burn, especially if you're playing with randoms, is the best option, because you have no idea if your teammates are actually going to take like full advantage of stuff like this. Now as far as the secondary goes, I would just set up this way because you really don't need stuff like able damage, because your class ability is not off cooldown that much. And for the melee weapon, I just take the Argent Edge, because the Argent Edge will stagger enemies on every single parry. It's one of the best weapons for defense in the entire game, and for that reason I think it fits into this build perfectly. Now if you want to take like a block chainsword or a block White Scars chainsword and stuff like that, you definitely could. The major upside of these weapons is that you will not get a gun strike on every perfect parry, which may sound like a little counterintuitive to you, but the thing here is if you're trying to hip fire your Pyre Blaster, getting a gun strike sometimes on the Argent Edge can suck, and a block weapon does circumvent that. So if you want to do that, you definitely can. I'm just taking this one because I think overall the Argent Edge is the best for defense, and that's why we're picking it up today. Now for the perk tree, once again it is up to you, but I would take Crack and Penetrator rounds first for like the strongest option, and then I picked up Relentless Pursuit here, but to be honest, you could just take Heightened Vigor for no knockback. This is still a very good option here. Then we pick up Emperor's Vengeance for that ammo economy, Secure Stockpile for 60-second melt-a-bombs and really any other grenade in the game, and then Vital Data for more Auspexes against bosses, and then we pick up the God tier Auspex combo with Precise Calibration and Concentrated Fire, because when you have these two perks active, your Auspex scan damage bonus goes to like 300%, and keep in mind that Auspex will buff up the burn damage you do, so if you stack this on top of the Crack and Penetrator rounds bug, on top of the exposed weakness on a perfect parry, because all enemies in Space Marine 2 do get a 50% damage taken debuff applied to them the moment you perfect parry them, so that will also apply to your burn. Really strong option overall. It's even like a melee Bulwark or something sitting in front of a Carnifex, all they have to do is just use their parry once, and you just put down Auspex of your burn, and they'll die in like 2 seconds. Really strong perk combo. Final perk here is Radiant Impact, and that's all there is for the main perk tree. And for our prestige perk options, we take Acuity because for whatever godforsaken reason, this actually functions on the Pyroblast. And the next perk here is Skill Supplier, Resilience, and Fortitude. And that's pretty much all there is for the tactical setup. I'm going to go into a Bulwark setup now and then a Vanguard setup after that. Now, this class didn't really receive any major changes this time around, so he is still one of the strongest classes in the entire game, and the Power Fist is still his best in slot weapon, in my opinion. Now, for the variant of the Power Fist, I think block weapons are overall the best on the Bulwark currently for a couple reasons. Number one, the 0-frame startup of block weapons, these really benefit you with the perks like Intimidating Aura. This one says a perfect time parry deals AoE damage within a 5-meter radius, so the cooldown is 5 seconds. This will also function on a perfect block, not just a perfect parry, even though the description doesn't tell you. That was changed back in like patch 8, and because of that, Intimidating Aura is very strong with block weapons, and block weapons also have a 60% range damage reduction buff every time you get a perfect block for 2 seconds, and that stacks very well with your damage reduction perks like Steel Within and your starting HP increase of 30%. Now, the other option here is obviously the balanced Power Fist. This one is very strong, but when it comes to balanced weapons, I actually think these are way better on the Assault class than the Bulwark, for the first reason being that the Assault class can just animation cancel out of his balance parry window whenever he wants, because the animation cancel of the Assault with the jump pack dash here, this will function mid parry. The animation cancel on the Bulwark class, this requires you to shield block, and because of that, you are not able to do an animation cancel in the middle of your parry, so you cannot escape the awkward windup of a balanced parry window. They aren't bad on him by any means. I think block is just better for that reason, because he just likes that 0-frame startup. Now, for the perk tree on this, I do start with the perk here, Perpetual Strength, moving here into the perk Heavy Preparation. Heavy attack preparation times reduced by 30%. You know, heavy attacks are pretty much all you want on the Power Fist in general, so you always want this perk. A 30% reduction in preparation time is tremendous, and honestly, the top tree practically doesn't exist because of this. Next perk here is Perpetual Strength, up here to Perpetual Strength again. Then I pick up the perk here, Focused Intention. When your health is below 30%, you will take 50% less health damage while preparing heavy attacks. This is another tremendous damage reduction perk. The way the Space Marine 2 works is that below 25% HP in this game, you will get a ramping damage reduction to like absurd levels, and that will stack with the damage reduction from this that goes up to 50% on top of your other damage reduction like the Steel Within perk or Conviction, on top of the fact you have a 30% increased starting HP, which means your effective HP at low HP values is already kind of ridiculous. So a really strong perk for him, and because of that, you are able to trade with the Power Fist very easily, because the way you get HP back on a Power Fist is by charging up your attack, one-shotting the weapon, or excuse me, one-shotting the enemy when you actually let go of your charge attack, even though you took damage during that charge attack, and then you get all your HP back off the execute. So top tier perk, pretty much always pick this up. Next perk here is Tide of Battle. Power wave forward distance increases from 4 to 8 meters. This is actually an increase from 10 to 20 meters, which basically turns your Power Fist into a ranged weapon. This is one of the reasons it is so strong on the Bulwark and Assault, especially, even though it's like, you know, the only class it's on. But for the point of this guide, I'm trying to say that we have only a secondary option, and because of that, having a Power Fist to be a ranged weapon as our primary is super useful in saving ammunition, and you are able to do things like punch Neurothropes and Zoanthropes out of the sky on top of stuff like Enlightened Zangors. So a really good option here, and Tide of Battle is a must pick. Next perk here is Following Blow, down here into the perk Strength of Will. Then I grab the perk here Combo, and the final perk Majora Slayer for a 10% melee damage buff against Majora's level enemies, because sometimes this helps out with breakpoints. And that's pretty much all there is for the Power Fist. But I will say, the other option you can take here is something like the Block Power Axe. The Block Power Axe is very strong on the Bulwark class as well, because you can animation cancel out of your Power Wave immediately into things like a Shield Bash or just go back into other attacks, and because of that, his block synergy here is very strong, and honestly the Block Power Axe in general is a top tier weapon, really only in second place to things like the Block Power Fist. Now for the perk tree on this, it's pretty much the same as all the other builds for the Block Power Axe. You just go full damage with things like Perpetual Strength into Coup de Grace, and then you pick up stuff like Repose for double overhead damage on a Power Backstep Strike. And then we also go into Tactical Retreat for more power backstep damage. The perk up here, Power Wave, and the final perk, Cleaver, because 10% more damage against Majoris and higher is super valuable for you. And if you really want to take like a Thunder Hammer for whatever reason, I guess you could, but the Thunder Hammer is like the de facto worst weapon on the Bulwark class right now because you lose your shield, and your shield is like the source of your animation cancel and your range blocking, and that's a huge portion of your class's power level. So, you know, one day I'll probably make a guide for both this and the Power Sword, but for now, I would stick with the Block Power Fist and the Block Power Axe here, and maybe whatever you want to use. Now, for the secondary option, I do take the Rate of Fire Plasma Pistol. This is still the best secondary in the game, in my opinion. It has the best CHP recovery, it has a great stagger, pretty shit ammo economy, but it makes up for that with pretty good damage. And even though you do lose out on that ammo economy, the perk tree we set up with this option here does kind of circumvent that a little bit with stuff like Plasma Collection, Efficient Charge, Perpetual Velocity for a shot charge rate, and also Divine Might for more damage down here. So a really strong option in general, though if you want to take like the brand new Bolt Carbine, you could do that. I would set up this way on like any setup, and for the Heavy Bolt Pistol, I'd probably set up something like this or go up here through Discipline, but that's all up to you. That's pretty much all there is for the secondary. Now, for the perk tree here. The first perk we take here is Intimidating Aura. A perk time parry deals AoE damage in a 5-meter radius. Cooldown is 5 seconds. This is one of the best damage perks on the defense in the entire game, and this will put out around 200 damage per perfect parry. And to put that in perspective, a Sword Warrior on absolute difficulty will have 308 HP. You're doing over half a warrior's HP with a single perfect parry, which is kind of insane. It also works a perfect block, like I mentioned before. So as far as damage goes, you can mop up bosses like the Vortex Beast, Hellbrute, Carnifex just with this perk. So you pretty much always take this on like a top tier build, though I will say an easier option is Conviction, because stacking Conviction on top of Steel Within, on top of Scramble Targeting, and your starting HP increase, you're practically unkillable, but you do lose a bit of damage. Next perk here is Scramble Targeting. If you're surrounded by 5 or more enemies, it will take 25% less damage from range attacks. This is just a free range damage reduction. Being surrounded by 5 or more enemies happens all the time in the operations and hard strats, and especially Siege. Though I will say, if you want to take Shock and Awe and like emergency countermeasure, you can do that. You will get a lot of damage for free off of this. Armor of Contempt is not very strong. Like, the damage put out by this is not very powerful at all. A lot of people think it is, but it's a super overrated perk. But Shock and Awe and Scramble Targeting here, they're the overall best option. Next perk here is Steel Within. When your health's less than 50%, you will take 30% less health damage. This is like the major damage reduction enabler for most builds on the Bulwark class with Intimidating Aura. Without this, you are substantially squishier. It's not to say like you're super squishy, because you do have other options like Focus Restoration to give you armor back, like your starting HP increase of 30% increase here. Yeah, a little redundant, but the point is that Steel Within on top of that base HP increase will make you substantially tankier. And if you're not taking Conviction, I would definitely take this perk, especially if you're fighting Chaos, because they don't give you as many gun strikes for armor reinforcement, and armor reinforcement I'd really only take against Tyranid faction normally. It's like, it's definitely best there. Now, as far as defensive advantage goes, this perk is not very strong at all. A 30-second cooldown in the 5-second shock area is pretty shit, and you're better off just taking the 45-second cooldown emergency countermeasure and stacking that with Shock and Awe, which is much better, and you're way less squishy. Next perk here is Focus Restoration. Every 30 seconds, all team members automatically restore 1 armor segment. This is a super underrated perk in Space Marine 2. 1 armor to your entire team every 30 seconds comes out to so much free damage reduction. Armor in Space Marine 2 will damage cap all the time against melee attacks. So what I mean by that is any melee attack in Space Marine 2 will do 0 damage if you have any amount of armor left, and that includes bosses. So 1 armor segment to a tactical, that's the difference between them losing like 70% of their HP and getting knocked over, or especially a Tech Marine, and just living. So a really powerful perk, and also helps you out as well. Next perk here is Purity of Purpose. The banner deals damage over time to enemies with zero effect. This perk will put out a ton of free damage for you. This will wipe out Minoris, deal significant damage to Majoris, Extremis, and even bosses. And as far as the rest of this column is concerned, rapid regeneration is okay. The banner restores armor 300% faster, but a duration is reduced by 10%, or excuse me, not 10%, 10 seconds, which actually cuts your banner time in half. And cutting your banner time in half, guys, that shit sucks. So the banner effect of like armor restoration being faster, that's pretty good for like range attacks, but you're just way better off with Purity of Purpose, because this one just puts out damage for free on top of like giving you the full benefit of your normal banner. Next perk here is Invigorating Icon. When the banner is activated, all team members regain maximum contested health, but it recharges 50% slower. This perk is the best for like 99% of players. Okay, Concussive Force is technically more damage on the Shield Bash, but this is the best DPS build for the Bulwark in the entire game. But for like, practical gameplay, I would just say take the healing perk. A 50% slower recharge may kind of suck to play with, but it is a very powerful perk option. If you really don't want the healing, you just want to use your banner, and you don't really feel comfortable with the Shield Bash animation canceled, you can just take Glory Shield because this perk is also great. Next perk here is Merciless Resolve. After a Shield Bash, Shield Rush, or Thunderhammer Pommel Smash, melee damage increases by 15%, you don't lose control from heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. This just gives you no knockback for free on just shield bashing the air. You pretty much take this on every build. Rejuvenating effect is pretty good, and so is Inspiration. It's just this one is definitely better. If you really don't want to take this perk, if you want that like a free revive on a banner, you just take Armor Advance to give you back like all of your no knockback when you have armor remaining, because this is also a very strong pick. And speaking of your signature perks, we are going to go to the next one here, which is Defensive Mastery. A perfect time parry or block instantly incapacitates a Majora's or extremist level enemy. The cooldown is 90 seconds. In my opinion, this is the best signature perk currently for the Bulwark. Being able to one-shot an Extremis in the middle of a boss fight is life-saving. This perk sounds way worse than it actually is, because in practice, it just removes threats for you automatically for free. The only negative perk interaction here is that if you get the trigger of this on top of an Intimidating Aura trigger, you'll just straight up one-shot the guy with no option to execute the Extremis or Majora's. That can lose you HP sometimes, but losing HP is also not too bad on the Bulwark class because you're so damn tanky. So for the most part, this definitely saves your life and saves you a ton of time in killing bosses and just wiping out free Extremis spawns. Now, alternatively, you could take Armor Advance or Emergency Countermeasure. If you take this one, I would stack it with Shock and Awe, because this 25% damage buff is very noticeable. And also, this is pretty much lets you be a Squid Inking with like an Emergency Countermeasure for a Shock Nade at your, place of origin. You know what I'm saying? Point is, free Shock Nade, and those are my opinions on the Signature perk. Now, for the Prestige perk options, I do take Resilience first, Medicate Singers for 40% more HP. For operations and hard strats, I really don't think you need Auxiliary Reload. You're not getting a ton back from this anyways, and the Max Extremis in the operations is not low, it's just not high enough that like I really feel like I want this on a super meta build, but if you want to take this, you definitely can. Next perk, which I would take all the time, is Overcharge. Health and charge attack damage increases by 20%. This just buffs your damage on your thrust jab, on your power fist relentlessly. It is ridiculous how awesome this perk actually is. It's a 20% multiplicative melee damage buff to the heaviest hitting attacks on both the power axe and power fist. You just take this all the time, especially since it's in a prestige perk tree. Final perks here are Powerful Shot for range damage increase of 20%, and Masterful Defense for ability charge being restored by 1% for every blocked ranged attack. With this perk, you will pretty much get a banner back almost entirely just off of a single minigun Terminator. A really powerful option for you, so if you have a shield, you just take this perk, and that's pretty much all there is for the prestige perk tree, and that's pretty much all there is for this build guide. Now, the Vanguard is getting some buffs in the future to his like grapnel targeting and stuff like that, but for now, his builds have remained mostly the same. So we'll be going over those today and just showing you the best options on the Vanguard class. So first up, we have the Melter Rifle. Now, the Melter Rifle is still, in my opinion, the overall best option on the Vanguard. Other great options include stuff like the Headshot Multiplier version on the Oculus, or the Automatic Carbine variant built like this. They're all pretty good on him, or even the Heroic Instigator is quite strong. But the reason I prefer the Melter Rifle is that, number one, this one has great stagger, great healing, and great armor regen, on top of the fact that it also solves the horrific ammo economy of this class with perks like Decisive Reload. Performing a finisher on a Majora's or higher enemy with this weapon restores ammo by 1. This will trigger on any finisher as long as your Melter Rifle is equipped, so really easy to pull off. So as long as you do that, make sure to swap to your Melta during any finisher on a Majora's or higher, and you will get 1 ammunition back. That is super valuable, and actually comes out to way more than you'd expect. Now, the next perk here is Rapid Health. When your health's below 30%, killing 7 enemies rapid succession restores health by 10%. This is a very powerful perk that gets you above those like one-shot breakpoints at low HP, and also very easy to pull off on a Melter Rifle because it's a flippin' Melter Rifle. So next thing here is Trick Shot. Killing 5 enemies with 1 shot restores 1 armor segment. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Getting armor back for one-shotting 5 guys on a Melter Rifle for hard strats and operations is very easy to do, because Cultists will die in 1 shot, Hormagaunts die in 1 shot, Zangors that don't have shields will die in 1 shot. and also stuff like Spore Mine, so really easy to trigger this on a 30-second cooldown. Next perk here is Great Might, over here into the perk Divine Might for 10% damage increase. And then I pick up the perk Extended Magazine into the perk here First Shot, and then the final two perks are Retaliation for 25% more damage on a perk time dodge, and the final perk is Perpetual Fire for a fire rate increase of 10%. That's really all you need to build for like any variant of the Melter Rifle. Now, as far as variants for the Melter Rifle are concerned though, I do take the range version over the magazine capacity version on the operations mode, and mainly because your ammo economy is pretty strong on this, like I mentioned before, and you really do not need to like take the extra magazine capacity and stuff like that here, because this one actually has a way better damage fall off than this one does, and because of that you're gonna have an easier time against things like shield Zangors, or excuse me, the floating Zangors, like Zangor Enlightened, and also stuff like Zoanthropes, which can get pulverized by this actually fairly easily. And that's pretty much all there is for the primary weapon here. Now for our secondary weapon, I do take the Retribution's Request Heroic Heavy Bolt Pistol. The main reason we take this is because the Vanguard can set up gunstrike opportunities to trigger perk effects like Tactical Prowess by basically using the power axe to parry an enemy, gunstrike them off the power wave, and immediately put them into that breakpoint range so we can grapple onto them and trigger this perk effect we'll get into later on top of Zone of Impact. So that's why I do prefer this one, because currently this has the highest gunstrike damage on Vanguard. And for the perk tree here, we do pick up the perk Divine Might first, all the way down the bottom tree into things like Death Strike, which says after killing a Majora's or higher in melee combat, you will deal 25% more damage for 10 seconds. This will trigger off of a melee finisher, not just a melee kill, so keep that in mind. All you have to do to make sure this actually happens is make sure your weapon is equipped. And the only downside here, or negative synergy, is that to trigger this perk effect, you can't swap off your gun, and you have to have the gun equipped, which means you are not going to be able to get the perk trigger of Decisive Reload here simultaneously, so you have to choose there. So like that does kind of suck, but still this buff is very strong. Next perk here is Great Might, over here into the perk Strong Start, and the final perk here before we get into the top row is Able Damage. After using class ability, damage increases by 20% for 10 seconds. This perk effect is very strong in both the Vanguard and Assault class, because you actually use your class ability all the time on these guys. They have great CDR perks like Combat Readiness, Inner Fire, and stuff like that, and that allows you to just get way more triggers off of this perk effect than say a Tactical does, so I definitely pick it up here. Next perk here is Home Precision for a 50% reduction in weapon spread while hip firing, and then we go up here into Gunstrike Reload, and the final perk here, Tactical Precision, which says headshots deal 20% more damage, and non-headshot damage decreases by 10%, because headshot damage is still the best overall option on this weapon. And also, the heroic perk effect here is called No Help Is Coming, for those of you who are unaware. This one says shooting an enemy could lead to status effect, stops with punk reinforcements, and headshots will kill in one shot. So this actually saves you a lot of ammo on Absolute and above, because really in this game, whenever you stop a reinforcement calling enemy on Absolute or like lethal difficulty and hard strats, they will go enraged, and this will kind of like circumvent that and save you not only an entire horde, but also just save you a full heal from an enraged enemy. So a really good perk effect. Now for the melee weapon, you actually have a couple options here. So number one, the Balanced Power Axe. This one is very strong, and the reason I like this on the Vanguard in general is because the Power Axe, the power backstep of this weapon, it will move you out of range to actually grapple back into an enemy with your grapnel launcher. The grapnel launcher targeting has a 10-meter range requirement, which feels awful in this game. This one does kind of help mitigate that a bit, and even though you can still do that with a block axe, the balanced weapon allows you to get your gun strike as well, which can trigger that breakpoint for a 33% tactical prowess finisher we'll get into later. So just keep that in mind. Both the block, balance, fencing, they can all do that. It's just like up to you which one you prefer. And as far as the balance and block version are concerned, I would set them up this way, with perpetual strength first, maybe here into the perk coup de grace. The last strike of a light combo deals 25% more damage. Then I pick up the perk here, Perpetual Strength, and Perpetual Strength again. Moving here into the perk Counterattack. The first light attack within 5 seconds after a perfect parry or perfect block deals 25% more damage. Then we go down here into the perk Riposte. Overhead strike damage after performing a power backstep is doubled. So a neat effect of the power axe is that you can use your power backstep and like move your camera to overhead strike with the double riposte damage on a different enemy instead. So you actually have a lot of opportunities to use this. So really strong perk effect, and a double damage on your overhead is very strong. And the next perk here is Hard Target. Moving here to the perk Tactical Retreat. Power Backstep deals 25% more damage. This helps you hit breakpoints, like actually get that 33% HP on an enemy for your Tactical Prowess trigger, so really good here. And then we go up here into the perk Power Wave. Power Backstep Wave damages more enemies. This one is just a straight buff to your Power Wave. It's going to hit more enemies. And also in patch 13, they did fix the Power Wave to hit more enemies like it was supposed to do anyway, so this perk is even better. Next perk here is Cleaver for a 10% buff against Majora's and higher enemies, and that's pretty much all there is for the Power Axe. Now, alternatively, you could pick up the Chain Sword and build it like this on like the new White Scars variant, or the block version, like really any one you want, and the Argent Edge is still a very potent effect on this class as well. It's just that the Block Axe and Balance Axe, these ones do the most damage, and that Power Backstep movement, that does help you the most as a Vanguard with like class synergy. Now, for the fencing option on the Power Axe, you can set up a little bit differently. The only major change I would make here is going down the top tree like this to pick up things like Power Strike, because this is just a very potent effect on this class in general. You also pick up like things like Endless Slash, but this one says Gun Strike from Power Stance deals 20% more damage. This just gives you more Gun Strike damage, and the actual damage of your Power Axe here on the fencing version is not that strong, so having this breakpoint here can definitely help you out sometimes on like harder to hit enemies and trigger this 33% threshold. So I just want to make sure people are aware of that, and that's pretty much all there is for the Power Axe tree. Now for our perk tree selection on the Vanguard class here, we do take the perk Upper Hand first. After a perfect time parry, block, or dodge, you do not lose control of heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. No knockback in Space Marine 2 will just save your life. The Vanguard is no different, and having this will work for gun strikes, it'll work for things like light attacks on any enemy, and if you're unaware of how no knockback works in Space Marine 2, any attack that would knock you over will only stagger you, and any attack that would stagger you will do nothing instead. So a really powerful effect to prevent stun locks, and also the perks in this column kind of suck. Like Melee Mastery, this perk effect is not remotely as strong as it should be. It's not a multiplicative buff like it's supposed to be. This one is really closer to like a 10% buff on your standard issue weapon, and the perk up here, Moving Target, killing an enemy from a distance of more than 30 meters restores ability charge by 10%. A 30-meter distance requirement sucks, so just pick this perk up instead. Next perk here is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you will take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. A 25% health damage reduction is incredible in Space Marine 2, and this will make you very tanky on this class because you can stack this with perk effects over here, like Thrill of the Fight for another 20% health damage reduction for a 45% total, which is really strong. Like, that's a pretty substantial amount of damage reduction, and this class already has a ton of armor regen down here with stuff like Launch Restoration and Restoration. So looping back into this perk on Armor Break is really easy to do, and you also have a 15% starting HP increase here too, so a 45% HP damage reduction on top of that is a very potent effect. Now the next perk we take here is Consecutive Execution. Killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores equipment charge by 1. The cooldown is 90 seconds. Now equipment recharge in Space Marine 2 is just a god tier effect. 90-second Melt-A-Bombs, 90-second Crack Grenades, it does not matter. These things can save your games in any game mode, so you pretty much always pick this perk effect up. And the next perk here is Unmasked Zeal. Melee finishers of Extremis or Terminus level enemies additionally restore health by 30% for any team member. This is just the best overall perk for like 99% of players, in my opinion. Healing is just a really powerful effect for newer players and experienced players. And Inner Fire is also a very strong perk effect for CDR, but like when it comes to the majority of the player base, I think you should just take this perk. I think you'll feel way better using this one, and for the most part, it'll make your games go way smoother on like hard strats, siege mode, and operations. Next perk here is Restless Fortitude. After a diving kick, you take 40% less range damage for 10 seconds. This is a very strong perk. A 40% range damage reduction here is really nice to have, but I will say the entire column here is pretty decent. Like Shockwave can clear out Spore Mines, and the Bramble collateral damage will help you just deal more direct damage to enemies, and also the Grapnel Launcher Diving Kick. This will scale up with difficulty, so this one also benefits from that, though I do kind of prefer Restless Fortitude just because it's a catch-all for like both Chaos and Tyranids. And also, this perk will trigger off of grapnel finishers, so it's even better with the perk combo we'll get into in a second. Next perk here is Zone of Impact. Performing a finisher with the grapnel launcher deals damage to nearby enemies. Now, this perk, the description does not properly express how much damage you actually do. This one will chunk Majora's HP in like an AoE zone. It is a super powerful option on the Vanguard. By far like the fundamental perk combo for this class, because you take Zone of Impact, you take the perk here, Tactical Prowess, that says Grapnel Launcher can activate a finisher not only on incapacitated enemies, but also on those who have less than 33% health, except Terminus level, and performing a finisher with the Grapnel Launcher restores its charge. So, really good perk combo with this, because you kind of see like the whole flow chart here, where you get a guy low, You grapple to them, you trigger the AoE, you get all the guys around him low, you grapple to those guys, and then you trigger this perk, and you get another AoE over and over and over again. In fact, this is not only like the best horde clear on this class outside of Melt-A-Bomb spam, it is also like the best boss damage at times for certain scenarios, so definitely pick this up. If you're going for like a top tier Vanguard build, this is just the only like right option in my opinion. There are also like good perks down here like Tenacity, and also Tip of the Spear is okay, but Zone of Impact is just kind of in a league of its own. Next perk here is Thrill of the Fight. After a perk time parry, block, or dodge, you will take 20% less health damage for 5 seconds. This is a free damage reduction in my opinion. This will trigger on every single defensive mechanic in the game, parry, block, and dodge, and because of that, a 20% health damage reduction is going off all the time. And also, unlike a lot of the other perk effects in Space Marine 2, this one will trigger over and over, even if the duration is not up yet. What I mean by that is, if you have 3 seconds of the 5 seconds left, and you get another perfect parry or block, you will trigger this again for the full 5 seconds, so really easy to keep up the entire time. Next perk here you can take though is Combat Readiness. Grapnel Launcher recharges 20% faster, because if you are taking the healing perk here, this one can help you get back those grapnels a bit faster if you like miss tactical prowess for whatever reason. And that's pretty much all there is for the main perk tree here. Now for our prestige perk list, I do take Battlefield Awareness first. If a target is within 8 meters, you'll deal 10% more range damage. Moving here to the perk Fortitude for health increase of 15%. And then we pick up the perk here, Launch Restoration. Using the grapple launcher restores an armor segment. This perk is like super underrated sometimes. This does so much work for you, because any amount of armor remaining in Space Marine 2 will reduce all incoming melee damage to 0, even from bosses, and because of that, getting 1 armor back while grappling into like a Carnifex, that means that they just can't do any damage to you directly to your HP on their next attack in melee, which is a pretty powerful option. And also, armor will benefit from range damage reduction perks, which means you're going in, you're triggering the armor restoration here, and you're also triggering the perk here for a 40% range damage reduction, which is incredible. So like, you're tankier against Rubric Marines, you're tankier against Devourers and stuff like that, and melee enemies can't do any damage to you for their first attack no matter what, so definitely pick this up all the time. Next perk here is Restoration. Killing 7 enemies around possession restores an armor segment. The cooldown is 15 seconds. This one is just free armor regen on a cooldown. I mean, it's not as good as Launch Restoration in my opinion, so if you want to swap this out for like Indomitable Spirit or Well Equipped, you could, but more armor is always better in my opinion, so I picked this one up as well. And that's pretty much all there is for this one, guys. I will say some final words of advice is that you do need to like really clump up the enemies for a Pyroblaster build especially, so make sure you use the corners and decap against bosses like the Carnifex or the Neurothrope, and really save your Auspex when you know you're going to actually nuke down the enemy on those builds. And when it comes to stuff like the Executioner Vanguard, I mean, the healing will benefit your entire team, and same thing with the Bulwark. And if you're really struggling on this one, I will be helping players go through this on my Twitch today, so if you need that help, I will be online for like, you know, some carries and stuff like that. And anyways, that is pretty much all I have to say in this one, guys. Thank you for watching. I also want to say a special thank you to all my channel members. You guys have been super supportive, and I really appreciate that. And here is an actual showcase of the new weekly with some random players. Alright guys, here we are on the new weekly with Extreme Challenge, Tsunami, and the Emperor Protects. Now, decap is the easiest mission in this game, and that's usually why I suggest leveling here, but we're just playing with some randoms who decide to join our lobby, and hopefully we'll get this all done. Now, the one thing I'd be a little careful on with the Tactical and Tech Marine is that your HP total is not that high, and also your damage reduction is like non-existent outside of range. So if you get caught, you might be cooked. Capturing strategy this time is nice. Or the precision enhancement is very nice for removing zone throws. Now, all you have to do in game to make sure your burn is being applied on crack and penetrator rounds, or say crack and penetrator are applied on your burn, is swap to a vulture weapon after the burn is applied. There's so many snipers here. Obnoxious. The cape is sick. Thank you, Tim. We worked very hard for this cape, running the same mission almost. Running the same 2 missions over and over for 6 hours. Where'd the years go, first regardsman? A good question. Where'd the hours go? Where'd the first 13 hours go? I guess we'll take the relic. As fire keeper, it is our duty to maintain the relic.
Grabbing this gear.
So if you play this right, that should be enough. Let's see. Too bad. Stacking them both on me, very rude. You can pretty much one combo the neuro throw up here if you get enough burn on it before the second wave comes. We'll try to do that if we can. I wish I had known he was going to do that. I would have done this. That's okay, we'll kill him. He's almost dead off of that.
We made short work of that neuro. Synaptic servant slaughter.
I respect that damage. I don't even have the icon. So FTG, Iron Hands, General Grievous, what are your thoughts? I feel like General Grievous should not be an Iron Hands member, first of all. Like, are they like the droid general? Yes, but a bunch of biovores today. I guess we'll just cook these if we can. Run over by these fucking biovores here. Let's do this. Oh yes, we all love 15 billion spore mines in our Space Marine 2. Yeah, legend has it, spore mines are the favorite enemy of against player base. Now, if you're running out of ammo this portion of the mission, is always a bit of an ammo drought, so not exactly new. There we go. Let's see if we get rid of the last one here. That sucks. That certainly sucks. Executing countermeasures. want to get rid of the Biovores first. It sucks we're kind of low on ammo here. What did it even go? Oh my god. We love Biovores, chat. We love them. Nothing loves a little bit of Spore Mine HP robbery. Alright, these ones. The Piss Mines are the worst part. We're almost done with the final one. Alright, that's him. That's him. This is the guy.
Enhanced visuals incoming.
We do indeed love Biovores. How many Biovores do you want? Yes. Yeah, that's the hard part of Extreme Challenge. Is like, it can definitely be rough, but Emperor Protects does give you back your HP and your teammates as well. As long as you stick together, it should be fine.
Do so already.
Oh, here it is. That's our glorious heal. Ah, see? It's like it never happened.
Take objective on the other side. Battle power unleashed. Reporting in from the tower, Captain. The Munitorum does not stop.
I would love to see a Grievous series. I know a lot of people would love to see that. Oh, shit.
Target practice. Force engaged.
Oh, he felt that. Oh, that's pretty good.
Inserting fresh magazine. We require multiple detonations for our demolition. He launched that cystic Xenos monstrosity. I will heal you in no time. We require
Waiter, more Spore Mines, please. It's true. We love Spore Mines. They're a fan favorite. You know, Spore Mines back in the day used to do like 90% more damage, or like 60% more damage. Something nuts. Something ludicrous.
Precisely what we needed. Detonator primed. I still have charges wired.
Alright, let's go up here. Alright, the final one's down below, huh?
Ready to blow.
Or not. Right, there we go. This will be a massive wave here, but
Explosives prepared. That is all of them. Bring on the monstrosity. The Hive Tyrant will reach your position shortly. Join the Imperial Guard defenders up on the bridge and lure that Xenos Colossus into the kill zone. Alien fireball. Reloading.
alright, let's get in here if we can. Wow, through the wall, huh? Let's see how it is. I guess we're out of here. Greetings, FCG. Hope you're well. I hate Sniper, and I'm not enjoying leveling him because Snipers and Horseshoes are simply dookie unless they have some form of AoE. Well, Sniper's actually pretty strong in this game. And once you have Purification, he's very easy to kill stuff with. His AoE is like his only negative portion, but he's a very strong. Once you get Power of Excellence, he's still very strong. I'm a Meltabon fan, but unfortunately you don't get that until at the very end of level 25. So his leveling can be a little hampered by that.
We've got a handle on these probing strikes, my lords. It's the relay that's getting hammered right now.
Our target is a Hive Tyrant. Once we kill it, the relay will be secure.
That's news. Without armor support to tackle a target that big, we may have to bring down the supply bridge.
Our plan requires it.
Is this a withdrawal order?
Negative. The objective is the Hive Tyrant, not the bridge. Defend this position until the Tyranid command
Steam
unit
just for
is
me.
executed. Understood, my lord.
This is the other one.
May the Emperor guide our lasguns to your support. Incoming!
Now the Pyroblaster's born for this portion.
What we are made of. Left flank. See us on the roof. Caution, brothers. Tyranids on the rooftops.
Concussive ordnance thrown. Got a pilot below. Don't let me.
The Hive Tyrant is on its way, but it is a horde of Xenos between you and it. Dig in for the long haul.
Don't let up. They're still coming.
You have its attention. It is moving to intercept. Apply more pressure. Guards over the wall. Swap to close quarters war gear. Keep your eyes peeled. The Xenos leader beast will be in visual range shortly.
This is the peak gameplay. Yeah, the Pyroblaster experience is hold down button, swap the Vulture maybe, win. You guys need to pick this up? Okay, I guess I'd take that. Aim at market, head to stare at the Hive Tyrant. I guess I'll be there we go. The Fires of Cadia must have really prepared those guardsmen to eat that Pyroblaster in the face. You know, Promethean prices are up for a reason.
Detonation complete. Talassa here. We got the Hive Tyrant. It is not dead. Our tactics were sound. The swarm would go feral without their connection to the Hive Mind, but their focus is still on the relay. Reports
It should be a
confirm
pretty
the
straight
lieutenant's
shot to
assessment.
the boss unless we get
Enemy
a
cohesion is still in
horde. But
full
honestly,
effect.
this scenario is really good for the
That beast is
Pyroblaster
not
already.
yet dead. We hear you, Command. It will be done. The target is still struggling under that wreckage. Shock grenade released.
The most necessary shock move. FTG, you're gonna try the Satari on Darktide? Of course. That'd be a huge class. Absolutely enormous. I mean, Arbites last year I already played a lot. And that's gonna be way smaller than Satari is. I'm way more interested in Satari in general.
Command, target is alive and retreating. Pursue and eliminate. We will not have a better opportunity to finish it off.
Oh, this thing's fucked. I wonder if Apothecary will ever be a class. I mean, Apothecary might be, but I really think they're going to lean towards a Chaplain next time. Like, I just think the Greatsword will probably come out with a, or like, you know, if they ever actually make a Greatsword, but they probably will. But that will probably come with a Chaplain or just this year. Not, well, definitely just this year, but it's this year would also save them on voice acting, because they take a vow of silence. It seems like a really easy choice for a company. Now, whether or not that class will be more entertaining to play than like Tech Marine, I'm not so sure. Tech Marine has a lot of really fun automated features to it, like servo guns, automatic firing, sound effects, and stuff like that. We'll see. We'll see. I play the Tech Marines very much an S tier addition to the game. We'll see. We'll see what they do. What will the Chaplain even do? Probably like melee buff your team. Spit out litanies and stuff like that. Build to like, I imagine like, you know, you build the different litanies and stuff like that. Pretty cool. Maybe it will be an Apothecary though, but I don't know. They'd struggle to make an Apothecary interesting. Because if it's just healing and not like a biologist, not too interesting. Where's the fire burn? And oh, I can see this probably there. Look at that. Look at that burn. And that, you know, massive precision enhancement shot. Oh, thanks, teammate. That's a wrap. Only the Hive Tower is the easiest part of the whole mission. Auspex is very fair. And that is the new Hard Weekly. That was really not too bad. I mean, even if your teammates are struggling, you can definitely help them out with the Pyre Blaster. I'll say an easier build for that can also be anything with Bulwark and like Intimidating Aura. That will usually mop up the Hive Tyrant as well, but as far as Extremis burning goes, boss burning, Pyre Blaster is just cracked. It's just that weapon.